Okay, welcome everyone to tonight's regular meeting of the Albany County Legislature Law Committee. The first thing we need to do is take a roll call.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Kuhn?
Here.
Reedy?
Here.
Feen?
Here.
Feeney, rather. Hilliard, sorry. McLaughlin? Here. Platsky? Here. Ricard?
Present.
Bergdorf?
He's here.
He's here. And Wayland is excused this evening. 8 present, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you. First item of business is approving the previous meeting's minutes.
Make a motion.
All right, Feeney? Second. Mr. Reedy, all right, all in favor of approving the minutes? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're going to take a few of these items a little bit out of order. We're going to actually go to number 9 first, which is authorizing an agreement regarding excess workers' compensation insurance coverage and amending the 2024 Albany County budget. Mr. Riley?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I apologize, Commissioner Clement wasn't feeling well, so she had to go home earlier today. So I will be handling that today. Hopefully I can answer all your questions. This is pretty standard renewal for our excess insurance policy. It's the carriers with Safety National. It's brokered by Arthur J. Gallagher, which is our broker of record. Excess insurance claims, this is more for like workers' comp, things like that. There's an $800,000 retention limit, then a $1 million per incident for police officers with an employer liability limit of $2 million. We worked with our broker to give them those terms. They then go and shop that out on the market. It was a slight increase from last year. That's why there's also an accompanying budget amendment to go with it as well.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments about this? Mr. Feeney?
I'll move it.
Okay, I have a motion. Anyone second it? Second. All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item number 10 is, we're going to 10? Okay. Item number 10 is extending distribution grant number 11 and amending the 2024 Albany County budget.
Hello, good evening. Matthew Alpern, I'm the Chief Assistant Public Defender.
Welcome.
Okay, we're requesting that our Distribution 11 grant be extended. It's a no-cost extension of the contract. The contract originally involved hiring attorneys, and it took a couple of years to get the attorney vacancies filled. And so there's funding that's left over, and we want to be able to utilize all of that funding from the state, from the Office of Indigent Legal Services. And this will actually also cover the alternate public defender office and the assigned counsel program as well.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this? Hearing none, Mr. Feeney?
Motion.
I have some
Okay.
question. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Grimm.
This is not working.
Yeah, mine's not working either.
Is this the one for $395,000?
This will enable the agreement for the Partners for Justice contract that we want to enter into, yes.
Yeah, I had questions. We have professional competent defense for the folks that your office serves. My question is just how much money are we willing to spend? Just 2 years ago, your office budget was $6.7 million. Now it's over $10 million. So do we really need $400,000 more from the state to do a competent job?
I would say yes. The funding that we get from the state has enabled our office to begin a radical transformation to be able to provide really high quality representation to large amounts of people in the city. This particular expenditure deals with an aspect of representation. I sort of term it as mitigation, but really it's about attempting to break the cycle of poverty and recidivism and repetitively coming back to courts. And so we have, within our office, we have social workers and we have people who work as community advocates, and we've entered into some agreements to get interns at local universities. And this is a partnership. Ultimately, what we're seeking this extension for is a partnership with Partners for Justice, which is a national organization that's dedicated to breaking the cycle of poverty and crime. And in this situation, we would contract with them, and they would embed 2 fellows, one in our family court unit and one in our criminal defense unit, and they would help clients achieve housing, get into treatment. They'll work on one of the long-term goals of our office, which is really transforming what our office is into a valued community resource for the community. We serve a lot of people, and we want to ultimately help them, break the cycle of what has gotten them into the situation in the first place. And so this is a really important piece of that. There's also a subtle aspect of this, is recruitment has always been an issue. And this year we did a much more massive recruiting effort around the country. And when you speak with law students from different schools, Albany Law School as well, but from around the country, they really want to enter into offices that are what are considered holistic in nature. And holistic representation involves more than just representing clients at the trial level of the cases that they're on. It talks about really trying to understand the causes of how folks got involved in the system in the first place. And so we're dedicating a lot of resources toward that as well, in addition to recruiting lawyers. And so when I go speak to students who are third years, and one of the first questions they'll ask me is, are you a holistic office? And this brings us to that, and they know they'll do research. They'll look into Partners for Justice. They'll look into some of the other partnerships that we're doing. And the state funding, it's no cost to the county. The state funding has really been the thing that has enabled us to achieve our goals. And if you look back I used to work at the office that funded this counties around the state. And the thing that is really great about it is it's a collaborative effort, right? And so none of the reforms work unless we're working both with the other providers in the county, like the alternate defender and the assigned counsel program, but more importantly with the county itself. And it's a partnership ultimately between the executive and the legislature and our office to try to really provide model representation to people who wouldn't normally be able to afford it. And I think this is a really important piece of it. And we don't want to see funding that the state is giving to us just disappear and not be used. And sometimes they put a lot of money into the office, and it took a little while to do the hiring. And what happened here, in a way, is a benefit, because if we had hired, we've got money that we have to try to use in a single source. And this is a fellowship, and so these students will be, they're postgraduates. They'll be coming to us for 2 years. They'll be working with our existing team. Partners for Justice will also there's training involved and capacity building, and ultimately trying to push us to become really a community-oriented defender agency. And so I think it is really important to utilize all of this funding and to become the best office that we possibly can be.
Ms. McLaughlin.
Thank you. Aside from the social justice aspect of it that the students are looking for, is the salary that's being offered consistent with the national average, or how do we fit in as it relates to that?
Much improved. I think we're much improved. I think a lot of times, sometimes I think the issue is not necessarily the salaries with recruiting people directly out of law school, because I think our salaries for that are very competitive. Particularly because Albany County has a great benefits package that goes with it. Albany is a great place to live. We were able to, based on that, recruit people from all over the country this year. We had people coming from Washington, from Oklahoma, from schools in New York City. So we really have done a great job with that. I think where you start to really feel it is when people have a fair amount of experience, and then they start families, and they want to, and they want to reside here. And so sometimes the salaries for the lawyers that have been here for a few years start to they become less competitive. But I think there's been a lot of improvement on that front in actuality.
Thank you.
And just a final comment there. I'm sure you do important work, but so do all our agencies. And the level of increases in your department is quite stunning compared to the other agencies. And I think this level of spending requires further scrutiny. Thank you.
Well, let me ask you a question. Since you've adopted the holistic approach, I believe you called it, versus whatever the more traditional model is, have you seen any sort of measurable successes or, I mean, I guess diminution in crime or recidivism?
That's also part of what this organization will do, the data collection piece. So part of our office of the reforms has been putting in case management systems and putting in sort of the data collection piece. And so we're needing to sort of study within our office how we can establish that there have been changes. And so it's a multi-tiered approach to trying to modify the office because there are a lot of cases, and so there's caseload pressures, and so we're starting to get lawyers in, and even with the state funding, I think the caseload pressures are very intense, particularly, and this subject comes up with pretrial discovery, and the pretrial discovery, the changes in the law and the changes in technology have really created time, it's very time consuming, essentially per case, and I think our office feels that, the district attorney's office feels that, any agency that's working with voluminous materials that are there will feel that. And so I think one of the things that we want to have happen with Partners for Justice is to monitor how this is happening, to monitor. But we do keep data on every case that works, where a social worker's been working with someone or with one of our advocates who's helping somebody get into drug treatment, works on things. So we do keep track of that.
Would you say that that data collection will allow you to more sort of substantively respond to Mr. Grimm's concern about the fact that the money is being well spent?
Hopefully, yeah. I think, the money, there's a lot of levels to that. I think the money is being very well spent. I think it's going to hiring lawyers to keep people from being overwhelmed. I understand, I would like to see every agency benefit, in the same way our agency or other offices around the state have. But again, you have to go back to the state was sued for, basically violating constitutional rights on a fundamental level. And so what the state money has done is trying to bring that, to alleviate that. And it was, it grew out of a settlement, and it was a process of implementing funding, and we've been working really hard to implement all the funding that we get so that we can maximize it. And I think, over time, we'll become more sophisticated in our data collection and in our ability to answer, highly specific questions about the things that you're asking.
Okay, thank you very much for all that information. Do we have a motion and a second yet on this?
I'll make a motion.
All right, motion from Mr. Sweeney, thank you, second. Mr. McLaughlin, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Item number 10 is authorizing an agreement with Partners for Justice. This is on the same,
It's on the,
oh, I'm sorry, 11, thank you.
11, yes.
Yep. Authorizing an agreement with Partners for Justice regarding client advocate services. This is all related.
That's exactly what that I was talking to. So the no-cost extension will enable that funding, and then part of this funding is covered by Distribution 11, and then there's going to be a request for extension of Distribution 14, which would cover the rest of the funding for this.
Okay, any questions or comments on item 11?
Need a motion?
All right, we have a motion to move it, second by Ms. Plotsky. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Now we're going to move back to item, thank you. We're going to move back to item number 2, which is a public hearing on proposed local law number A for 2024, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 106 of the Albany County Code, setting forth requirements for facilities within Albany County, where the local governmental unit identified by New York State is the Albany County Department of Mental Health. All right. This has come to us before, but, all right. Ms. McLean Lane, you want to talk to this one?
Well, we're going to have a public hearing again.
Okay.
What is nice about it is the language is cleaned up. So I took a lot of points made by the advocates who came and included them in the law. Also It doesn't identify anyone. It's just utilizing where we are the local governmental unit. Because the way the state law is set up, it sort of obviates local municipalities, and we're just trying to bring back local municipalities into this process.
Great. So this is only for the public hearing. This is not, this will come back before us to discuss the substance of the law. So this is just to move the public hearing. So with that, is anyone have any questions or
I have a
comments?
question.
Yes, Mr. Bergdorf.
Ally, is this substantially the same version that was your last version in December?
Yes.
So this has the exemption for intermunicipal moving within?
Yes.
Okay, so you
I did not
you
make any
change
changes.
that. Okay.
It just
We'll
cleans up
talk
the
about that
language.
at a future time, but I just, without doing a side-by-side, line-by-line, I just wanted to see if that was the case.
Yeah, I may suggest that we have substantive discussion on this at our next meeting.
If there's no further questions, I could make a motion to move that.
Okay. I need a
Public
motion
hearing.
to move it.
Second.
Second, Mr. Meany. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion
Thank you
carries.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ally.
So next is the public hearing on proposed local law number B for 2024, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 288 of the Albany County Code to ban speed contests and stunt behavior, and I believe Mr. Miller is here on this one.
Yes, so this bill is really just with social media, we're seeing a proliferation in street shows, street demonstrations, drag racing. We saw last summer the girl in the car going down 787 where they filmed it. And unfortunately, the penalties that exist now aren't very strong. They're not a deterrent. So really, the whole purpose of this bill is to give law enforcement and the courts greater ability to hopefully prevent some of this stuff, whether it be, in the hill towns, in the cities, doesn't matter where it is. A lot of times it's late at night. So this increases the penalties. It's $500 for a first offense, $1,000, and up to 15 days in jail for subsequent offenses.
Okay.
So it's nothing new, it's just expanding.
And once again, this is just for the public hearing. This is not the night when we're going to necessarily substantively discuss the law. So with that, questions or comments? Mr. Feeney?
Make a motion.
Okay, we motion, second by Ms. McLaughlin. All in favor of moving this public hearing? Aye. Any opposed? No? All right, motion carries. Item number 4 is public hearing on proposed local law number C for 2024, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, criminalizing rental fraud. Is Sam here? Is this tabled because he's not here? Okay, okay, the sponsor of this is not here, so by rule, that means it's tabled. And then item number 5 is authorizing an agreement with the Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York Incorporated and United Tenants of Albany regarding the eviction prevention intervention collaborative. Okay, this is also tabled because the sponsor isn't here. And then I believe that items 6, 7, and 8, which are the actual, will be the substantive discussions of the local laws, those are tabled pending
Public hearing.
public hearing. Okay, so that concludes our business.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
I just wanted to make an observation.
Okay.
I know some of these laws we were familiar with because at least Ally's was from last year. Some of the others are new. I really believe that the law committee would benefit from some type of discussion of what the law includes before we send it out to public hearing. Now, I realize that we are going to discuss it substantively after a public hearing, but if, there were instances in this committee where you, Mr. Chairman, yourself said, after hearing a little bit about a local law, and I won't reflect upon which one it was, but I'm sure you know, that this was just not ready for prime time and you were not ready to put it out for public hearing. So that if we don't at least have some cursory discussion of these laws before we send them out for public hearing, we might, as a law committee, find a sense that the way it was, maybe there were a few suggestions. I just offer that to you for your
Yeah, no, I think
consideration.
it's a good point. With respect to the first one, that has certainly been already subject to robust discussion.
Yeah, but you have a bunch of new people here who've never heard it.
Okay, that's a fair point. Yeah, I think,
I just, making the observation.
Right. Agendas being what they are, if we have time to do that and have those substantive, even some sort of preliminary substantive discussion, we will do that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so I think we have a motion to adjourn, second by Mr. Ricard. All in favor? Aye. All right. Any opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.